We're at the Brentwood Country Mart here in Los Angeles, and we just got this amazing matcha.
From Farm Shop.
We're here to talk about our mixed orientation marriage. As some of you may know, or if you're new here, I'm gay, and we were married last November, and we've been in a relationship monogamously for over 8 years. So we want to talk and answer some of the questions that we get every day about our relationship.
So the first question we get is, how did you guys meet? And we met in the theater.
Yes, the musical theater at an audition, or rather a callback. They happened on the same day, the audition and the callback for Fiddler on the Roof.
Fitting I would pick up a gay in the theater.
Yes, and so basically Samantha was up for the part of Frumacera, which if you don't know, Fiddler is this like crazy witch. And she comes in this dream sequence, and Samantha was called into the room with like 8 other girls to read for this part. And in the lobby, it's quiet, and there's all this audition tension. Everybody's getting ready to go into the room, and they're nervous. And through the walls, all of a sudden, this cackle happens. And I'm
but
like,
crazier.
Yeah, I'm like, who is this person? Like, what just made this sound, and who has the gall in a audition room to be doing that? Because most people are on their best behavior. And so the girls come out of the room, and I immediately know Samantha was the one who made that noise. There was just something about her. I was like, she reeked of making that noise. And so...
And I can remember exactly what I was wearing that day. I don't have the shirt any longer, but I remember it was a Madewell shirt, and it had this, like, tribal print on it.
And I run up to Samantha, and I'm like, if they don't give you that part, they're crazy. And that was kind of it for the first meeting.
Yeah, and then we we both got the show, and we didn't get together until January, which was about 2 months later, and rehearsals started, and we were both being housed at the resort.
Right.
And we would hang out every single day.
Right, and this was just friends, platonically, and we were friends for 18 months before ever dating.
And then one day I went to an energy healer who was asking me about my life, and she asked me if I was seeing anyone, and I didn't know how to answer that question because I wasn't seeing Jacob, but by that point we had had 18 months of this undeniable magnetic connection that I couldn't put into words. So I didn't know how to answer that when she asked me it, because I felt like I was like kind of like in the stars, you were my person, but I didn't know how to make that translate to this earth.
Yeah. And
I guess right when I said that, I held my stomach and I was like, well, I'm just very confused about my best friend. And she stopped me in my tracks and was like, you see your hand? It's where your belly button is. That means you guys share a spiritual umbilical cord. She was feeling it in the stars, or she was just telling me some woo-woo shit. But it was what I needed to hear to then confront Jacob. And so I texted him later that evening and I said, do you ever feel more for me than just a friend? To which he replied,
what do you mean?
I was like, okay.
Which was
through my phone.
My nervous response. By the way, side note, I just watched 2 16-year-olds get into a car that must be $150,000 minimum.
I don't know if they know how to drive it, but they're making a lot of noise in front of us.
I'm scared, but also this is how you know you're in Los Angeles, in the ritzy areas.
16-year-olds driving Aston Martins.
Ugh. Anyway, so that was kind of my nervous response to her was, what do you mean? And immediately I'm like, I can't just say, what do you mean? So I have to follow it up. And I was like, of course I feel more for you, and I'm willing to give this a try. But I was feeling 2 separate feelings there. I was feeling like, one, really excited and like this is everything I'd ever wanted, and 2, really nervous that I could not have an intimate relationship with Samantha because she's a woman. And it was really nerve-wracking at first.
Yeah, and I was doing a play in San Diego at the time, and Jacob was living in LA. So we made plans for him to drive down that weekend and see the play and celebrate a friend's birthday. And then he was going to spend the night where I was staying. And so all that happened. And then we got together.
Yeah.
We did the birds and the bees.
And it was really pretty simplistic. It was so easy. It was just like it had always meant to do. There was all that nervousness and worry about being able to be intimate was completely thrown out the window at that moment.
And why were you nervous?
I was nervous just to have physical relations with a woman.
Because he's gay.
Right. So that kicked off our relationship, and Samantha immediately moves in with me, and we start our journey. And so that's the meeting.
Yeah, and really, we moved in with one another from day one, and we were operating like any normal straight couple.
Yeah.
Or any couple in the world. And it was like our sexual preferences didn't matter, because what we had was just so magical, and it was palpable. It just from that moment, I'm I know we're gonna get married. If this isn't love, then I'll never find love. And so ever since then, we've lived together, we've built a life together, and we continue to support each other in our dreams. And
next question. Do we have a lavender marriage?
No, we don't have a lavender marriage. We have a mixed orientation marriage.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Okay, so lavender marriages are where a gay person marries a straight person to hide their gay identity. That matcha's so good. Our relationship is out in the open. We've been telling the media, we've been telling social media for years.
I was going to feed him.
Oh.
Yeah, we're out in the media.
There's no hiding who I am.
Right.
And that's the difference. And a lavender marriage is built to hide that. And in my personal experience, when I wasn't able to be openly gay, it created a lot of psychological turmoil for me. It feels like you're living a lie.
And there was a lot of anger for Jacob early on in our relationship. And it was because he was so out and about with me and a lot of our close friends, but he wasn't out with his family.
Right.
And so at a point, I said, look, is it worth it to you to continue, having this beautiful relationship with your family if it's built on a lie and it's built on this idea of who they think you are and not who you truly are? I'm not saying that they don't love you or that they won't accept you if you're gay. I'm just saying I think it's better if you're out in the world and tell your parents and the people who you're afraid to tell that this is me, this is who I am, and if they can't accept you for that, then
they out.
You do the best that you can, but better to have the ability to live your life authentically and as yourself versus living your life hiding who you are and having people love this idea.
Next question. Do we have an open marriage?
No.
No. We believe in monogamy. Mm-hmm. That's what works for us, and that is a healthy relationship for the both of us.
Yeah. Our boundaries are that we just are committed to one another. Mm-hmm. We would not have gotten married, and we would not be we would not have dated to begin with if we were not prepared to commit ourselves to only one another. I don't think anyone should be dating someone if they're not ready to say, I can see myself with this person in the future, or at least for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. And then when you're with them for the foreseeable future, you will know whether or not you're supposed to be with them forever. Right. Which I feel like if people are into open relationships, we're not here to judge. That's not our style. We just Yeah,
It just doesn't work for us.
No, what's the point of being in a relationship then?
Yeah.
Like, you clearly want to be out and about with multiple people. We don't want that.
Right. Next question is, do we sleep together? Which we've already answered, but we'll just say again, yes, we
sleep
do.
Together. It's not just side by side. We do sleep side by side. It is him and me and him, us, doing the birds and the bees. And as we like to say, if you don't know what that means, well, it's not our job to teach you.
No, hopefully your parents had some sort of conversation or a guardian.
Yeah.
Next question, why don't I just identify as bisexual or pansexual? This is an interesting question, and probably where people get the most caught up in our relationship is why I don't say I'm bisexual. And bisexual means that you're attracted to both sexes. And to me, that doesn't define who I am. I'm defined as gay. The fact that I'm with Samantha in a marriage is its own thing. Her as my partner doesn't change my identity or my preferences. So to use the term bisexual doesn't apply to me. Same thing with pansexual. Pansexual means you like the wine, not the label. I am attracted to the label of men, so that's gay. And that's just the way it is. And we're not saying that this is going to work for every gay person. And we're not encouraging gay people to be in hetero relationships or anything out of their preference. We're just saying if a soulmate comes along that's outside your preference, don't reject them, or you don't have to live in confusion about it.
Right, exactly. And another question that we get is, do I worry that Jacob will leave me or cheat on me?
Yikes. Excuse me. And no, hopefully Samantha never worries about that.
No, I don't, because I would not have gotten married to Jacob or been in a relationship with him to begin with if he was not someone who I knew was safe and would protect me and loved me for me.
Yeah.
And he shows me every day, and he has for a decade, how much he loves me, how much he treasures me, how important I am to his life. I also know my value.
Yeah.
I know I'm incredible, and I know he is so lucky to have me too. Yeah. I'm very lucky to have him. We're lucky to have each other.
Right.
But I think when you know your self-worth, you don't settle for anyone who makes you feel less than what you know you're worth.
Absolutely. And it's not always been perfect. There's been periods of our relationship where we worried and had doubts, and it had less to do with, I think, the other person and more to do with our own insecurities that came out.
Right.
As they do in every relationship. Everybody brings their own baggage to something, but what you're seeing is the result of 8+ years of knowing each other and living with each other and being together every single day. And time has a way of just solidifying things and making them so firm.
Yeah, and we've always been loyal to one another. We've always been so firm in what our boundaries are. So even when we've had ups and downs, we've never crossed lines that we know are points of no return with one another. And what we think is the key to this sort of success is that we believe that we must be brutally honest with one another. And we like have this saying that's, we're brutally honest without being brutal.
Yeah.
And we've been brutal sometimes, but we always strive to be brutally honest, but without being brutal. And we know that that is just kind of the recipe in any relationship for having a good, healthy relationship. I am 1,000% myself with Jacob. He's 1,000% himself with me. And the reason we've decided to open up and share it with the world is because we hope that we might reach someone who needs an example and sees us as a friend or a slice of something that makes them feel familiar to themselves.
We know there's other relationships out there like this. We've met people like this, and we also know people who've lived in denial forever or hidden their identity, and it's harmed them and harmed their relationships. And we're out here to hopefully save people from that misery or that internal woe and be able to express themselves in the same way, because it's really liberating. By the way, if you love our story, like us at all, we encourage you to hit the subscribe button, give us a like. Also, if you have a question you want us to answer about our relationship, feel free to leave it in a comment, or anything you'd like us to hear, leave it in a comment. Also, we are working on a podcast that's hopefully coming soon. You can find us on social media at Samantha Wynn Greenstone, at Jacob M. Hoff on Instagram and TikTok.
We have a documentary about our love that's coming out.
Right, lots of exciting things.
And we talked very extensively about our relationship with the New York Times Modern Love podcast.
Yeah.
And they just did a really beautiful job, and the conversation was led so wonderfully and intimately, and I think it answers a lot of questions and kind of like goes into the pathos and the heart of everything. So we encourage you. I think you can watch it on their Modern Love YouTube page. And we just are so grateful that you joined with us.
Yep, and now we're going to figure out what we're going to do with the rest of our evening.
We got to go to the grocery store.
We got to go to the grocery store. We do those sorts of normal things. We're not heading to the Pink Pony Club right now.
Pink Pony Club! Uh-oh. Is that going to allow me to say that?
No, that's fine. That's enough. I think
like
that
royalties.
Any longer, and you're out, but... Yeah, we're going to go to the grocery store. I do all the cooking in the relationship and most of the cleaning. So we will figure out what we're going to eat.